All right. In this video, we're going to be talking about, let's say, the first example where we're actually going to do something. And this exercise, we'll call it the Hello CI World exercise. So in this video, we're actually going to be using either the terminal or some other editor of your preference. So you'll see me iterate sometimes between the terminal here or VS Code. All right. Um, and so let's just start doing this. So assume that we have an analysis code which has a lot of work done, and we should be good people, and we want to add tests using CI/CD. So what we want to do is we want to create this .gitlab -ci YAML file in the project, and this is what we want to fill it with. This is what we want to run so that we can add it. Sorry. This is what we want to run so that we can add that file to our project. All right, so note that we are in the virtual pipelines event selection, and these are the files that we have. If we do git status, we have these files that we've added from a previous episode, and for now I'm just going to ignore them. They don't have to be there. They could, you can add them. That's not really that important. So what I am going to do is I'm going to create this file. And I'm going to do that with echo hello world. And then I'm going to, oops, yeah, actually just keep that. And then I'm going to just add it, I'm just going to create a new branch. So git checkout -b feature /@ci. And we're going to be working on this feature branch because we are adding a new feature for our project, which is add the CI. We're going to do git add the GitLab CI YAML file. We're going to commit it, and then we're going to push it to our repository. All right. Yeah, and branch feature @ci set up to track it, so that looks good. So now we can verify that we can go back into our project, and if we refresh the page, we can now see that there's this notification asking us to create a merge request. So let's actually go, just click on that, or go here and click on feature @ci, go to that branch. And now we see something that we didn't see before. We see a red X that wasn't there before. So let's see what happened. All right. So it says that this is a failure, and what it's saying is that it was unable to create pipeline because the GitLab CI.yaml file had an invalid configuration format. So that lets us know two things. One, that we just pushed this file with this name GitLab CI YAML, and it automatically tried to do something with it. All right. And the second thing is that, it failed. So that's good news and bad news. All right. Here's just more of the documentation that essentially shows you what you would see. And so there are some tools that actually allow you to understand or to verify whether your CI YAML file has the correct configuration. And in particular, we have a few links here to an example of another GitLab repository, in this case mine, where I call it CI testing. And then for every repository, you have what's called as a linter. And so that just lets you check and verify that your the if there's a CI file there, you can verify with a linter that it is properly set up. And basically, what a linter does, it's just analyzing the source code for errors and stylistic errors or suspicious things, and this just comes from you know, the term originates from a Unix utility that examines C language. And now, the other thing that we want to do is, because we're going to start working on this feature branch, and we want to eventually add it to our master branch, we want to actually create that merge request. So let's do that by clicking on that button. And it's usually a good idea to add it as work in progress, so that we let other people know that we're working on it, but it's not ready yet. You can also just mark it as a draft, and by default it'll add draft : to the name of your CI/CD. So you can do either one. I'm just going to keep it with work in progress. It won't mark it, but it's in the name. You can also add a description of what it is that you're trying to do. So adding a new CI, still a work in progress. You can assign people, you can add labels, but this should be more than enough. And yeah, let's just, we would like to squash commits when all is said and done. So let's just create this merge request. All right, so now that we have this merge request, we can see that from this merge request, we can also look at the pipelines whenever it runs. And it tells us that it's ready to merge, and we can merge it once we feel like everything is said and done. So let's go back to the documentation. And for now, let's actually just fix it. Let's make this run. So the YAML is currently invalid, and this makes sense because we didn't actually use the YAML syntax. We didn't define any script to run. So let's go ahead and fix that. And so what I will do, I'll just copy and paste this. And then I'll just edit that GitLab CI file. I'll save that. And now I'll just do git add, and then we can do git status. And yeah, let's add the rest, and then we can commit it. But before we commit it, let's actually just take this that we've copied in, and let's actually test that with the linter. So now that we have this, I can go to the very end of the URL and just add -ci -lint /ci/lint, and that should take us to the linter page. So here we can paste whatever text we want to use as the content of our configuration file, and we can validate and simulate what this would do. And it lets us know with a green check mark that this is a correct syntax and that this is validated. And it also gives us some additional information on where it works and when it works. All right. So it looks good. So let's stage the changes and add it. So let's do, we already did git add dot, so that's added that file and some other files. So that's okay. Let's commit it and then push it. So git commit -m, and I'll just commit it with adding hello world CI. Oh, if I can spell correctly. All right, and git push. All right, so that's pushed. Now we want to make sure that this worked. So how can we check this? So we can check this in the commits, or we can go to CI/CD pipelines, right? So let's go to our repository again. And from here, we can click on the commits, or we can also click on this little sidebar here and go to build and then pipelines. So let's go to pipelines first for now. We can see something like this, where we see the past pipelines that we run, right? The first CI/CD, which was an invalid YAML, and then this one, which is the one that we just made, and that is on our feature branch. So if we click on the feature branch, we see the commits, and we see that the first one failed, but the second one, the latest one, has passed. So we have this nice green check mark. If we click on that, again, we see this information. When we look at the pipeline view, we can also see the changes of what we did. And then we can also click on this green button here. And this will show us this view of the pipeline itself. And something else that you want to do is that if you can click on this hello world here, you will actually see the log output of the CI runner actually getting set up, and there's a bunch of output, but what I'll do is I'll just scroll to the bottom and it says job succeeded, and you see the echo command running and the output of that command. So everything is green. This means that it ran successfully. Hence we get the green check mark. All right. So that's how we check the jobs output. So you might have noticed something, which I failed to mention. If there's pipelines and then there's jobs. So let's look at pipelines. So here's a pipeline with a number assigned to it that takes us to this page. And there's also jobs here. And this takes us to this view, which we're familiar with already. So the difference between pipelines and jobs is that pipelines are composed of many jobs, and each job are composed of steps. The steps being like the steps, the script being executed inside a particular job, and one pipeline can have many jobs. So that's the difference. And that's basically it for this episode. All right, so see you in the next video.